Let's be honest, classroom storage can get really wild, especially when we add in all the manipulatives, all the centers and everything. So how do we make sure that our classroom is not getting overrun by all of our physical manipulatives? That's what we're going to be talking about today on That Music Podcast.
You're listening to That Music Podcast with Bryson Tarbett, the curriculum designer and educational consultant behind That Music Teacher and the Elementary Music Summit. Each week, Bryson and his guests will dive into the reality of being an elementary music teacher and how music can truly be transformative in the lives of the students you serve. Show notes and resources mentioned in this episode can be found at thatmusicteacher.com.
Welcome back to That Music Podcast. Today, I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite ways to store physical manipulatives. If you know anything about me, you know that I love digital manipulatives. You know that I love Google Drive, and I love how it indexes everything and you can find everything. Canva is my best friend. I love all the digital side of things. But there's something to be said about physical manipulatives for a few reasons. One, a lot of times I hear people saying that their subs are not allowed to have access to any technology. So you can't use any of that in your sub plans. So these physical manipulatives or centers can be a great way to leave some sub plans, especially in a, oops, I wasn't expecting to be out kind of thing. You can just kind of throw something together a little bit quickly if you already have the physical manipulatives. In addition to that, raise your hand if you've ever lost the internet while you were teaching or lost power completely. Things happen, right? But beyond that, beyond just, sometimes the technology isn't accessible, I think there's something to be said about children using physical manipulatives. They use a lot of technology now, both in and out of the classroom. And I think there's something to be said about actually allowing them to physically touch things and move things and mess around with things. So I have lots of manipulatives that I use in my classroom. Popsicle sticks are my favorite ones. They're cheap. You can use them for lots of different things. They don't take up a lot of room to store. Actually, I just stored my popsicle sticks in like a big old dish basket and just kind of like flower girled them out when I'm passing them out, and really kind of simplify it that way. But a lot of times when I hear people, asking about things like centers or physical manipulatives, it's all about like, all right, where do I store these? How do I make sure that I know where they are and that they're organized in a way? And I totally get that because me and my ADHD brain, if I can't see them, they don't exist a lot of the time, and I totally forget that I have them. Today, I'm going to be sharing 3 of my favorite ways to store physical manipulatives in the classroom, and I would love for you to share your advice as well. So feel free to tag us on Instagram at thatmusicteacher.com if you have a storage tip so that we can share the information. So without any further ado, let's get started. First up, we have something that's fairly simple, which is basically just like one of these plastic shoe boxes. These are usually pretty affordable. You can get them pretty much anywhere, like the dollar store, I think is where I got these. This one's a Sterlite, but I'm sure there are many other different brands. So in here, I have, this is actually a center that I used. So I have Rhythm Race. I can't remember who made this one. Let's see if it's on here. It's not on here. If you know who this is, let me know. But I have a Rhythm Race center in here. So I have the instructions, I have the game board, I have all the pieces. So I use this as a sub plan. So if I had a sub, I would say, hey, pull out the Rhythm Race. And I told them where it was. And the students already knew how to play this, so they were able to do it pretty well. So this is a really good way to store it because they're cheap. They can store things and keep them safe. These are really good for centers, especially ones that have smaller pieces. And what I don't like about these is they can't really hold a lot of like flat papers. Like in here, there's a couple, but they're like bent, so they're fine. But I'll show you some other ways to store other manipulatives like that as well. So shoe boxes, these are great. These are cheap. This is probably nothing crazy to you, but these are some of my favorites. Next is my absolute favorite, and these are these scrapbook boxes from Michaels. I don't know if they have generic ones. I've had these for a while, so back in the day, at least, this is like you could only get them at Michaels. They're about $10 each when they're not on sale, so that's kind of pricey, but they are a good investment. I will say, at Michaels, you do get a 15% discount as a teacher, and it includes a discount on sales items. This is not sponsored by Michaels, but let's get those discounts. So how I use these in my classroom is I have them sorted by concept. So this specific concept is like manipulatives. So if I actually go inside it, obviously big old train. But even better, kind of a double tip is I use these manila folders to hold things. So inside this manila folder are the song, like I have like song things for Old MacDonald. So within the box, I have the folders, and then I have some smaller folders that have like icons for, what's this one? This was icons for engine, has the little trains, engine, right? So a lot of different things. So I have like BB Bumblebee. I have all these different things, and I have everything is in an envelope. So some of like this one's BB Bumblebee, and it's like an old school like bill envelope. But again, it's whatever. It's whatever you have. But what I like about it is it's so much easier for me to be able to pull this box when I need my song manipulatives or my song icons than to go through and try to find engine number 9. But no, all right, it's going to be in here somewhere. I can pull this one out. So these scrapbook boxes are great. Again, they're kind of expensive when you buy a lot of them, but they've lasted forever. Like if you take care of these, they will last your career. And they store a lot and they stack really nicely. They have a little bit of a lip on here so that like they slide around. These are great. And then I actually have a bonus one for you. So let's do this bonus. All right, so a little bonus. This has nothing to do with manipulative storage, but I found this this little thing while I was going to find my boxes. So I wanted to show you. So this is basically a plastic sheet that you can put papers in, and it turns it into essentially laminated, so you can use a dry erase marker on it. What I love about these is one, there's less plastic in the world because you're not laminating every single thing, but also you can really easily turn one worksheet into a sheet that anyone can do multiple times. You just erase it between them. These are pretty affordable. I'm sure you can get these anywhere, anywhere where educational supplies are sold. But these are great. I love them. I had to share. Last up is this little like craft box thing. This one was also for Michael's. I think this is like $50 when it's not on sale. It's kind of expensive, but again, it's sturdy. It's going to stack. It has a lot of stuff in here. So what I like about this is it's a case for a lot of smaller cases. In these cases, I can pull out when I need something specific. And as you can see, I used a label maker to make it a little bit more clear what's in each thing. So for instance, if I were to open this box, I have, let's see what I have here. In this box, I have bass clef cards. So these are bass clef. I think these are from David Rowe. But basically like, all right, spell the word, find the bass clef. But then I also have my note name dots. So if I wanted to put out some notes, I could put these out, the boom marker dots. I have some fruit with the pre-iconic notation on it. All kinds of different things. But so I use these for like physical manipulatives that I use a lot. So for instance, these are, they're not stuck. These are the popsicle sticks that I use that have magnets on the back, that I put magnets on the back so that I could use them on my board when they're using the smaller ones. And then here are tiny broken ones for Ticka Ticka or Ticka Tea and Tea Ticka when we use those. So I didn't lose them. So again, what I love about these is they all kind of slide in and then you only have to carry the one box. A lot of things can go in here. Absolutely love these. Kind of expensive, but it's a good investment if you're going to be in it for the long haul. Our last little bonus tip is regardless of how you decide you want to store your manipulatives, stick to a system. So if you're going to sort everything where it's stored together by like objects, so for instance, all of the rhythmic stuff is over here, all the melodic stuff is over here, that works. If you're going to do it where you have all of your post office games are in here, even the rhythmic or melodic, that's fine. Or if you're going to have all of your icons here, that's fine. Whatever works for you, it works for you. Again, I think that physical manipulatives have a place in the classroom, but they can be really easy to forget that they're there, especially if you're me and have that object permanence issue, ADHD thing going on. So if you have like a lot of manipulatives, it might be worth going in and kind of creating an index of what you have so that when you sit down to lesson plan, you aren't going off of your memory of what manipulatives you have. Because let's be honest, there's nothing worse than spending about a bunch of time like cutting out and laminating and making manipulatives and then finding out you already had ones that could work. That's so frustrating. It's happened to me so many times. So however you store them in a way that you're able to see them, store them in a way where you're able to pull them quickly. And if you do a lot of center, store them in a way that the students are able to put them away is another bonus tip. So with that being said, I hope you gained some insight on how to store some of your physical manipulatives, your centers, or whatever you have in your classroom. I would love to hear your favorite storage tips. Tag us over on Instagram at @ThatMusicTeacher or send us an email, hello@thatmusicteacher.com. We would love to figure out if there are any other ways that we can support you. If you haven't joined us inside That Music Teacher community, we would love to have you inside. We have content-specific professional development live every month, as well as a back catalog of over a year now of masterclasses from previous months. Certificates are included if you need those for your CEUs. But regardless, we would love to have you inside. And in case nobody has told you lately, thank you so much for making a difference in the lives of the students that you teach.